See you later. A suspected cyber attack has left many console gamers unable to play online. It's affected Sony and Microsoft, who make PlayStation and Xbox systems popular Christmas presents. The companies say that their engineers are investigating. Theo Leggett reports.
Computer gaming is a huge industry with legions of followers around the world. But over the past couple of days, many of them were left twiddling their thumbs as games networks run by Sony and Microsoft stopped working. Among them was musician Alan Bluestone. He's one of many gamers who took to social media to voice his frustration with Sony.
Very disappointed. They should definitely sort this out. They're a big company and there's many people at home who are trying to get online, such as myself. I mean, if I'm not making music, I should be playing PlayStation and it's just not working. And it's very frustrating.
So what actually happened? Well, to make the most of these consoles, players have to connect to the internet in order to reach the manufacturer's computer servers. The outage stopped people accessing some of the core services. Things like registering a new account to download games, connecting with other people to play the same game, and connecting to entertainment channels via the console. Microsoft's system has 48 million subscribers for the Xbox, and there are more than double that for the PlayStation network. There was a time when if you bought a computer gaming console, that's pretty much all you were buying. And if you wanted to play with your friends, you'd invite them round to your house. Nowadays, when you buy one of these, you're joining a much wider community. But the problem is, if the network doesn't work, it doesn't work either. It's not clear what caused the problems. A hacking group called Lizard Squad has claimed responsibility. It's bad news for Sony, which recently had the launch of a new film, The Interview, badly disrupted because of hackers. This, it seems, is something different.
This is a hacking attack which is not like the Sony Pictures one, where personal information has been stolen. This is basically a denial of service attack, which means that the servers for Xbox Live and PlayStation Network are being hit so hard that they can't deal with any requests. They're just taking the servers down, which means that people aren't able to play their games online, but their personal data, as far as we know, has not been compromised.
That may come as some relief to the gamers who've been affected. But on a day when both Sony and Microsoft would normally have expected to rack up bumper sales of new games, they'll now be counting the cost. Theo Leggett, BBC News.
Sony Pictures' controversial film The Interview has made more than $1 million on its Christmas Day release in the United States. As we heard in that report, the political comedy about the assassination of the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was pulled from wider release following a cyber attack on the Sony studios. It was only shown in 320 theatres in the US and received mixed reviews. Well, for more on this story, we're joined by Jeffrey Carr in Seattle. He's a cybersecurity analyst and author who runs the consultancy firm Tyre Global. Jeffrey, welcome to BBC News. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. First of all, let's clear this up. We're talking about two different attacks, aren't we?
Completely different day.
Sorry, we're having difficulty hearing you. Let's see if we can hear you now. Is this really, though, all about hacking, particularly when it comes to the gamers who couldn't get online? Because according to Twitter, a lot of people were saying, look, this happens every year. You release a new product and you don't support it properly. Is it a hack?
No, so yeah, these are, I'm not even sure why they're in the same story, honestly. They're so utterly different. One is simply a denial of service attack. It's an inconvenience. Obviously, this is important to gamers, and a lot of millions of people are disappointed by it. You can't even begin to compare it to the damage caused by the attack, the actual hacking attack against Sony.
So customers might be frustrated, they might be a bit distressed and disappointed they can't use their Christmas present properly, but they've got nothing else to worry about in this most recent attack.
Exactly. And this type of thing, this distributed denial of service attack, is actually quite simple to do. Anybody with access to certain automated tools can attempt to do it. It's extremely hard for companies like Microsoft, Sony, and others to defend against it. You'll probably always experience the possibility of something like this happening in the future.
The temptation, though, is to conflate any attack that we have in the next few weeks, isn't it? To see it as a part of a series. But the one I suppose that you're most interested in is the big attack on Sony, which has been blamed on the North Korean government. How likely is it that another government did this?
Well, anything is possible in cyberspace. No one can say with certainty, although clearly that I'm wrong, because the White House has said with certainty that it was the North Korean government that they're holding responsible. I think that that's a mistake. A number of other security experts agree. And we just produced a study that shows the hackers involved most likely were not Korean, based on an assessment of their language. It doesn't really fit the Korean language as nicely as it does Russian. So it's just more reason to withhold judgment when it comes to attribution, especially one government accusing another government.
How likely is it that the hackers, whoever they are, will ever be caught?
Well, it's very unlikely. We've only, and anyone, I think, searching the public record will see that the very first indictment ever issued against hackers for intellectual property theft, this is when data is stolen, similar to what happened with Sony, just happened last year, earlier this year here in the US, where 5 Chinese soldiers were indicted by a grand jury, although no prosecution has occurred yet. But it almost never happens.
What are the long-term prospects then for hacks like the huge one that we saw on Sony being repeated? It must be a challenge for some hackers to think that, well, if you've done it, I want to have a try.
Well, and this is the scariest part. So let me be clear that by far the scariest part of the Sony hack is that the US government has determined that another government is to blame. And the hacker group responsible has now successfully fooled one government into charging another government. What's to stop another hacker group from trying to one-up that? Theoretically, you could cause a war scenario where by believing that one state is responsible for another state's attack, and then, as you saw in this case, North Korea lost the use of their internet for approximately 8 hours. Had that been sustained, I'm confident the North Korean government would have wanted to accuse the United States, since they were just the recipient of that accusation. So this is a very dangerous game.
What's the message? What's the message that we as individual users and also big companies should take from what's been happening?
The message for companies is to allocate more of their budget to cybersecurity, to hardening their network, and to observing behavior among employees that might lead to discovery of an insider. Chances are good that the Sony problem involved an insider. So this is, and the NSA hack or the NSA loss of data through Edward Snowden, clearly it was a massive insider attack. So these are some of the lessons that I think every corporation, especially a multinational, should take away. Allocate more of their budget to identifying these types of vectors, attack vectors early, and making it harder for people to be successful.
Jeffrey Carr from the cybersecurity consultancy Tire Global, thank you very much for your time tonight.